Welcome to another video by Lane Creations, log analysis made easy. Today, we're going to show how you can use a deployment server to speed up and improve the resiliency and upgradability of your Splunk environment. If you have lots of infrastructure in your Splunk environment, don't go to each individual device and configure it. Use a Splunk universe, use the Splunk deployment server and push out those changes. So for example, I got a brand new environment here, and in my environment I've got a management console, a master node, I got a universal forwarder talking to me, and a search head, and a search head cluster deployer. Some things that you should be doing is general taking care of these systems is all of these should be sending their logs to the indexer. They should not hold their own logs internal. So we could go into each individual device and point them to the indexer clusters and send all the logs there. I'm going to show you that you can do that with an app. Another one, right now we're running non-encrypted traffic, so my authentication, everything is unencrypted. I want to turn that on so that I have SSL running on every one of these devices. So how do I do that? Well, right now we could go in manually do that. In my outputs.conf, I could go put this stanza in there on each one of those devices, and the web.conf. This one here, you could go do it. You're probably not going to change it much, but let me give you an example of why you would definitely want to control this through an app. What happens if right now I got 3 indexers in my indexer cluster? I'm going to give you 2 scenarios. What happens if for some reason I need to change the IP scheme on these boxes? That means I got to go to every box and change the outputs.conf. Oh, that would stink. I've done that. I've been there. Not an enjoyable situation. Or an even more likely situation is your environment grows. Right now, 3 indexers is enough to run my indexer cluster. But what if tomorrow I need to add another indexer because I'm ingesting enough data that I now need 4 indexers for my indexer cluster? I still would have to go to every device and make sure it's sent. That's not ideal. Or what if I make the change one time, put it in an app, and then send it to every device that needs to send that through the deployment server? That would make things so much faster. Change once, apply to many. That's the whole point of this. The initial setup it saves you a little bit of time, but where it really saves you time is any sort of changes that have to come down the road. So let's go do this. Easy thing to do is I'm just going to call this, I'm going to make one app, and I'm going to call it Splunk Management Settings. Let's go do that. And so I'm going to come here to my forwarder. I'm just going to do it right here. There's no reason I can't. So we'll do Splunk Enterprise. You probably should build it on a dev box. It doesn't particularly matter in this situation. I'm going to hit Manage. I'm going to create an app. And I'm going to call this Splunk Management Settings. And we'll give it a nice friendly, I always like to put lame there, so I know it's a homebrewed. That doesn't, let's get that right. Okay, version 1.0.0. It needs 2 dots for the version. We're not going to make it visible. No reason it needs to be visible. All right, I give it a nice little setting, and we're going to hit save. I could have gone in on the back side here and done it all myself, but that sounds like a lot of work. I can mess that up. So what we're going to do, we're going to exit out of here. Let's go grab, this should be my distributed management console. We're just going to SSH into this. SSH. All right, we're on the deployment server. We'll log in as Splunk. We're going to go to the Etsy apps. And we look there, we should see our lame Splunk management settings. Let's go ahead and move that. Move to /deployment apps. That'll move it from the apps here to the deployment apps. And those of you not familiar with deployment servers, that's the place where if you're going to push an app out, your apps need to be. So we'll just do that. Move there. Now if I list it, it's gone. But if I go, there is my lame Splunk management settings. Let's go ahead and modify that right now. We'll notice there's a default directory. We'll just go right into that. All right, so this set up the app file. Good enough, gives all the documentation there. So I didn't have to build it by scratch. I could have built a directory and put all these pieces in there. I didn't want to. So that's why I built it in Splunk and then moved it. All right, so we look at our notes. We need an outputs.conf file. So I'll just use nano. Outputs.conf. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this entire thing right here, copy, and paste. That's it. It's got my indexers. It's all set up. Exit. Yes. And where did I grab that? I stole it. I stole it from a system that already had it configured, and I just did it myself. And so it's all good. Well, that's how I got that. Now we're going to nano web.conf. And we're just going to take this setting. Those of you not familiar with this setting, this is the setting that enables Splunk Web SSL. You can go through the GUI and turn on SSL. And ultimately what it does is it creates this little stanza. In the web file, it makes the settings and then says enable Splunk Web SSL equals true. Do that. And we've got ourselves an app that when pushed out will set all the other settings. So all we now need to do is go in to our management piece here. So we're going to come back to forwarder management. We'll hit a refresh. There's a fifth app now. And we can see Splunk, lame Splunk management settings. Sweet. We're going to go to server classes. And we're going to make a new server class. And we're going to call it Splunk Infrastructure Settings. Give it a good name like that. We're going to add apps. And we're just going to go grab the lame Splunk management settings. Hit save. We're going to add clients. The one I don't need it going to is my universal forwarder. I mean, it can go to the universal forwarder. I mean, what it will do with SSL is nothing. So you can make a decision. Do you want to configure these with the UF or do you want, or I would typically have my UFs done under a different setting. Even though nothing I put in there is a problem, I, as a general rule, don't think it's a good idea to manage them together. They are different machines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exclude, copy, paste, and then we're going to preview this. Okay, and we're going to do, this is not the way we want to do it, but let's go lame star. Preview. Okay, so we're missing this one here. So what we can do is we'll grab this name as well. Copy. Preview. Oops, yep. Let's get... All right, you know what? Just to keep them all, we'll do them all this way. So I don't grab the universal forwarder. I'm still grabbing that. Hit preview. There. Universal forwarders not included. The rest of them are. I can hit save. I'm going to quickly grab that app. Edit. And we're going to hit edit to make it restart Splunk D. So all those systems will restart. And they need to for the enable SSL to take place. And what we're going to find is now all of those settings will go up. I had a tab with all my systems up. They'll restart, and then I'll need to put SSL in because I'll need to make sure I go to HTTPS and validate that. The other thing you're going to need to do is if you had some machines like my master node, it was already sending its logs to the manager node is already sending its logs to the indexer cluster. So what I want to do is I'm going to go, this is 184. I'm going to jump on this. I'm going to go to ops Splunk etc system local. And I can see the outputs.conf here. It's the exact same thing. That's where I got the instructions from. Thing is, this has precedence over my app. So it doesn't, because the app is there, this isn't going to, nothing's going to change. What I need to do is I need to remove this outputs.conf from etc system local so the app will control those settings. So it gains precedence. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rm outputs.conf. And now my system will take the app's settings instead of this. And so if I need to make a change, I make a change here in the app, add another system, whatever the case may be, and boom, redeploy, and all of my systems get updated. Another place this is really helpful for, this is one I needed to do, I found at one time my deployment server was mixed. I'd used it with other systems. As I started to join more and more systems, I realized I needed my own dedicated deployment server. And in order to do that, I ended up having to change the IP address. Oh, do you know how horrible that was to try to grab every universal forwarder's settings, all those things? My recommendation, do the deployment client early. Get it set up and make the deployment client.conf file also pushed out in the app. That seems weird, but as it grabs that app, it'll update itself. It's not a bad way to do it. You can use it to make sure you keep, if your deployment server ever needs to change, you can actually control that through an app instead of through etc system local. Any settings that may change or you're doing to all your different systems, put it in an app, deploy it out through the deployment server, and then when you need to make a change, you're changing it once, not multiple times. And it will make you it'll help you move from being that lame analyst to a Splunk ninja. Hope this was helpful. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. Keep passing the message. Share this with your friends. If you're interested in getting free content apps that are, if you're interested in getting YouTube videos on training, we have 8-hour videos on how to set up a Splunk infrastructure. This whole Splunk infrastructure, I have a video demonstrating how to build each and every one of its components. The search head cluster, master nodes, everything, manager nodes. Join, become a member, get the perks there, see the videos before they're released early.